Shock and outrage. Strong reaction to President Donald Trump's alleged derogatory remarks about poor countries. How migrants risk death crossing the Alps to get to a better life in France. And the consequences of 65 years of war on Africa's animal populations. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent McCory. This is Africa 54. Amid a firestorm of criticism, U.S. President Donald Trump took to Twitter Friday to deny using a vulgar term to describe El Salvador, Haiti, and African nations one day after he was quoted as calling them S-hole countries during a White House meeting on immigration. In the Twitter post, the president says the language used by me at the DACA meeting was tough, but this was not the language used. In another Twitter post, the president wrote that he never said anything derogatory about Haitians other than Haiti is obviously a very troubled and poor country. Meanwhile, reaction is continuing to come in to Trump's apparent crude reference. A member of the president's own Republican Party is condemning his language.
It really takes your breath away. It's just incomprehensible that these words came out of the mouth of the President of the United States of America, a country that was founded on being free from discrimination and treating people fairly and having people come here, the land of the free. And yet the President says, we don't want anyone from Haiti. We don't want anyone from countries. I feel bad even using the phrase, but these are the president's words.
Former Haiti Prime Minister Laurent Lamothe tweeted, "Shame on Trump. The world is witnessing a new law today." With his vulgar remark, President Trump reportedly made the remark as Senator Dick Durbin, a Democrat from Illinois, was explaining the outlines of an agreement reached by 6 bipartisan senators that would protect nearly 800,000 young immigrants from deportation as well as bolster border security. Well, international reactions were swift across Africa following the alleged Trump comments. In South Africa, the African National Congress Deputy Secretary General Jesse Duarte said comments by U.S. President Donald Trump are extremely offensive to South Africa.
Ours is not a country, neither is Haiti or any other country in distress. And it is extremely offensive for President Trump to make statements about other countries that are really not complimentary of the U.S.'s position or policy positions on those countries. And it's unfortunate that he makes those statements. Obviously, we're in no position to stop any president from saying anything they wish to say, but all we can say is that developing countries do have difficulties.
Well, on the streets of major cities across the continent, many express their anger at what they see as indignifying and a mischaracterization of Africa and its people.
I'm not surprised because, I mean, Donald Trump, we've always known that he's a racist. But when he does things like this, people need to realize that he's just trying to distract from all the stuff that's happening to him.
Oh, wow. Well, I think he's in the scenario, and I think he should probably just stop saying these childish things.
Well, what I feel about what Donald Trump has said right now with the statement that he's issued, I feel as if this guy doesn't have like self-respect for black people as such.
Yes, it hurt me a bit because we people, we just like him. It's like Donald Trump is breathing flavored oxygen. We are the same people. We're not different. It's just the color and everything.
As an African, I'm disgusted. I don't even know what to say.
I am honestly so shocked. Countries like, has he ever been to this country, to call it a country? Seriously, has he seen the achievements that Africans have done in his country?
We're coming up at our own level, and for him to say that we're a country is an abuse to all of us, and I think that he really needs to retract those ill statements that he said.
Well, Botswana's foreign ministry summoned the U.S. ambassador in protest and called the comments highly irresponsible, reprehensible, and racist. It said in a statement that it had asked the U.S. government through its ambassador to clarify if the derogatory remark also applied to Botswana. Now, we've seen the harrowing images of migrants and refugees trying to cross the Mediterranean Sea by boat. Getting to Europe is only part of the journey to a better life. And as winter deepens, that journey becomes only more dangerous and deadly. Africa 54's Heidi Adams Fitzpatrick has more.
Migrants braving the heavy snow in this alpine mountain pass. It's the dead of winter, and that makes their risky crossing from Italy to France even more dangerous. The terrain is steep, 1,430 meters above sea level, with below freezing temperatures. These men from Senegal, the DRC and Pakistan say they'd been forced to clamber along the path on all fours in some parts.
Ma famille sont au Congo ou sont en France.
My mother lives in Congo, but my sisters live in France. I'm a painter. I'm a construction worker. I do everything. I want to go to France for work.
They don't want their names mentioned. They can't afford more risks. They're exhausted and despondent and have decided to turn back. An estimated 800 migrants have attempted to make this dangerous crossing over the Alps mountain range since August last year. Many had already made the perilous Mediterranean Sea crossing from Libya after traveling through the heat of the desert. This volunteer is preparing to scale the Italian mountains in search of African migrants. Rescuers sometimes come across scenes like this, a migrant freezing in the snow.
It has happened to us, to rescue groups in deep snow under heavy snowfall, who were stuck and could not move forward. In one case, a migrant had lost both shoes in deep snow and his feet had started to freeze.
These migrants were given snow boots by residents on the Italian side of the border. In France, a resident skis up to them and takes them to get hot food and drinks, the kindness of strangers. The number of migrants and refugees making dangerous journeys has fallen since more than 1 million arrived in Europe from the Middle East and Africa in 2015. In 2016, that number dropped to about 363,000 and plunged by more than half in 2017. Heidi Adams Fitzpatrick, VOA News.
Authorities in eastern Libya said on Thursday they have arrested and would deport 81 migrants from Eritrea, Ethiopia and Somalia. These migrants had escaped from smugglers after failing to reach Europe. Officials say the migrants were reported to authorities by an imam at a mosque on the coast to the south of Benghazi. Libya is the main departure point for migrants trying to reach Europe by sea, with nearly 120,000 crossing the central Mediterranean last year. Almost all leave from western Libya, though departures dropped sharply last July when some armed factions began blocking crossings. Most of the migrants are from West African countries, although some from East Africa enter Libya through Sudan. Well, landslides and flooding in the past week in Congo's capital, Kinshasa, have killed 45 people and left up to 5,000 homeless. That's according to Red Cross. Heavy rains began late last week, sweeping through homes, collapsing walls and causing landslides through many parts of the city, officials say. The World Health Organization says the flooding is also likely to exacerbate an ongoing cholera outbreak, the worst seen in DRC in 20 years. The disease has killed at least 1,100 people and spread to 24 of the country's 26 provinces since it broke out in July. About 55,000 cases have been reported. Now, war takes its toll not only on humans, but on wildlife as well. Researchers at Princeton University in the United States investigated the consequences of 65 years of war on animal populations in Africa. The new study revealed that during armed conflict, the number of large animals like elephants, rhinos, and giraffes decreases. VOA's Deborah Block has a story.
These endangered bonobos are protected at the world's only sanctuary for the great ape species in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. In the wild, the animals are found only in an area of the country known for its political instability and armed skirmishes. In the DRC and other African countries ravaged by war, Princeton University researchers analyzed 65 years of data about more than 250 populations of large herbivores. They found that more than 70% of the elephants, rhinos, and other plant eaters were affected by warfare, and as the number of conflicts increased, their populations declined. That happens for a variety of reasons, says Margaret Kinnaird with the conservation group Worldwide Fund International, who was not involved in the study.
You've got ordinances, you've got chemicals being used, you have weapons out there, so they can be that can be directly aimed at wildlife. Soldiers have to live off the land, and that means they're going to be taking bushmeat. They also have to fund their warfare, and that means they're going to be going after commercially important animals and commercially important wildlife products like ivory and rhino horn.
Maintaining conservation programs in war zones and helping animals survive after a ceasefire could help save many vulnerable wildlife populations, the report says. But that's not easy.
You have to be prepared and be very ready to go in after the conflict is over. Get in there as soon as you can and begin mitigation activities is really critical.
Despite the gloomy picture, there is some hope that in post-war, the animal populations can rebound. In Mozambique's Gorongosa National Park, for example, nearly all the wildlife disappeared during the country's 14-year-long civil war. Since fighting ended in 1992, the herds have recovered to 80% of pre-war levels. Deborah Block, VOA News.
We want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we cover. Join the conversation on Facebook, and the address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our show live on Facebook, so check us out and share our show with your friends. Well, find me on Twitter at VOA Vince McCory. After the break, things are not looking up on the environmental front. Scientists say be prepared for prolonged droughts and forest fires. We'll explain after the break.
This is a country that I chose to become a citizen. I didn't have to become a citizen. I chose to become a citizen.
I feel like America gave me an opportunity to pursue my passion as an artist.
I really believe that clean eating is a way to a more successful life, or a happier life, if you want to put it that way.
One of the things that helps me wake up every morning is doing better, being better.
We grew up poor, and so I'm always focused on helping the working class be able to have a more comfortable lifestyle.
I'm passionate about doing justice every day. I oftentimes say that justice is a verb, not a noun. You know, I believe in action and moving the ball forward.
Over a quarter of the country's, or rather the world's land, could become significantly drier over the coming decades, according to new research from Britain's University of East Anglia and China's Southern University of Science and Technology. Now, the scientists warn that changes in precipitation and evaporation linked to climate change could increase the likelihood of domino effects like prolonged droughts and forest fires. Henry Ridgewell reports.
Scientists estimate the world has already warmed by around 1 degree Celsius since pre-industrial times. Most of those scientists blame human factors, such as the burning of fossil fuels. Researchers looked at the effect of a 2-degree rise in temperatures on the aridity of different regions, a measure of the dryness of the land surface.
And what we found was that the regions that changed significantly, substantially, compared to the year-to-year variations of the past, were regions such as Southeast China, Central North America, northern parts of South America, Southern Africa, Mediterranean.
The Paris Climate Agreement, signed in 2015, aims to limit global warming to 2 degrees above pre-industrial levels. That's a critical level, says Joshi.
What we found was that in these 6 regions that we looked at, you can actually limit the amount of acidification if you stay underneath a 2-degree temperature rise globally.
So what would a significantly drier world look like?
The future average climate will be like the drier years of the present day. It's like encountering a moderate drought that never stops. If you are interested in impacts such as drought, if you're interested in agriculture, even things like heat stress, and knock-on effects of drought, potentially forest fires, for instance, for all these impacts, aridity is really important.
California has just suffered some of the worst forest fires in the state's history. More than 5,500 square kilometres were engulfed by fire in 2017 and almost 50 people killed.
Climate change will make certain things more likely. I mean, forest fires and dry regions may be one of those things, but you can't take a certain impact and just assume this is because of climate change. That's not how climate science works.
The research team warns that agriculture, biodiversity and water quality would all be impacted as vast areas of land become drier. Henry Ridgwell for VOA News, London.
The robots revolution has arrived at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas this week. Many tech companies are developing robots that act as social companions who can be part of the family. Will people embrace robots like smartphones? Elizabeth Lee finds out from that show in Las Vegas.
Robots of all shapes and sizes from around the world have taken over the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. They interact with people, and some even talk. Anybody wants to cuddle me. This one even has a big ego from winning too many games of the word game Scrabble.
Here's a sharpener for you. Keep your mind sharp.
This is like a humanoid. It's good for maybe elderly, for children, actually for adults to have interaction.
Most of these robots have cameras that act as eyes. For those concerned about someone hacking into a robot to peep into your home, there are safeguards. For this robot called Buddy,
when the camera is activated, we will show it on the screen and with a light, specific light, to know that someone is using your camera.
Hi. Several different companies will have social robots available for consumers this year. And the makers of Buddy say 2018 is the year that people will adopt a social robot in their home.
This kind of robot is the next step because Amazon Echo, Google Home can't move. They are not alive. It's not a character, you know. So it's the next step. So I think this robots, I hope it will be Buddy, but this kind of robot will be adopted by everybody in the next few years.
What do these convention goers think of welcoming a robot into the family?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it really depends on what you would use it for, you know, and what it would do for you.
This surely looks nice over here.
I think today people, they don't have time to spend time with elderly people or with children. And using that, it's just perfect because it looks like a human, interact like a human, and it's a gentle product.
The costs of companion robots vary.
I am scared.
For Buddy, it's around $1,500.
If you're going to spend $1,000 on an iPhone, you can spend $1,000 on a little robot like that.
Just like a dog or a cat, a robot companion may become a regular part of many families in the not-so-distant future. Elizabeth Lee, VOA News, Las Vegas.
Now, for many people, Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies remain a mystery. But for female-led startups, they are an alternative way to raise cash in the tech industry. VOA's Tina Trinh has more.
In the tech startup world, there's no shortage of venture capital money for the next big idea. That is, if it comes from a man. Women often get shortchanged.
The venture capital landscape is dominated by 94% men, which makes it objectively harder for women and minorities to fundraise for many different reasons, including gender bias.
Now, female entrepreneurs are starting to explore alternative sources of funding, and their sights are set on the biggest and buzziest phenomena in tech and finance: cryptocurrencies and blockchain.
The value proposition of blockchain has to do with disintermediation, and really what that means is cutting out the middlemen or cutting out, rent seekers in applications.
Cutting out the middleman also carries over to fundraising. ICOs, or initial coin offerings, allow founders to raise money by issuing a digital token or coin specific to their blockchain business.
There's no legacy of male domination in blockchain because there's no legacy. And so why not do this, get involved, build something.
Michelle McCormick created Casting Coin, a digital currency that she plans to use for her crowdsourcing platform connecting models and brands.
Going beyond that small community of VCs and people who usually kind of controlled the means of capital there, you can see this open world where women are free to go out and to prove themselves.
But it's still early days for the technology.
I think what we're seeing is a lot of influx into just fast money into various ICOs. But I wouldn't call it success right off the bat because we want to understand the longevity of these types of fundraising processes.
For these ambitious women, long-term success means being a part of today's conversations. Tina Trin, VOA News, New York.
Well, it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54. We'll show you how to get up and get down with the Malian sounds of Bafou Safou. We'll be right back.
It is extremely offensive for President Trump to make statements about other countries.
Not unexpected from somebody of his nature.
The kind of new slavery, particularly taking place in Libya, was an issue.
How do you see the world?
I see countries in turmoil.
I see our planet changing.
I see people at peace.
No matter how you see the world, you'll get an unbiased and uncensored view of it on Voice of America. On television, radio, online, and mobile. In more than 40 languages all day, every day. Millions of people tune us in.
How do I see the world? On Voice of America.
The lyrics could be French,
English,
Portuguese,
Bantu,
Arabic.
It is the beat.
The African beat that counts.
The beat does all the translations.
It cuts across all languages and gives us the understanding that this is the African beat.
It is so distinct
and adhesive.
It binds us together.
African Beat on the Voice of America. For more information, visit our website at www.voanews.com/AfricanBeat.
Welcome back to Africa 54, and here's what's trending. It's not a high-tech conference without smart gadgets for every use. At the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, a digital nail printer is creating complex designs in seconds. Users simply choose which design they'll like, apply a layer on print gel, position their finger in the device and let it do its work. Now, the device boasts thousands of designs. Users can even download a smartphone app and upload pictures they'd like printed on their nail, such as a selfie. Now, everything's smart at CES, even the toilets. The Inumi Intelligent Toilet by Kohler boasts an auto open and close feature, a heated seat and a touchscreen remote. Users can use it to play music with its built-in speakers and change the color of its nightlight. The device, with a listed price of $7,500, can also be controlled with an Amazon's Alexa voice assistant, meaning users just say, "Flush." And finally, it's every parent's nightmare. All of a sudden, a child has run off and you don't know how long he or she has been gone. Now, the Monkey sensor from New York-based Twintech uses beacon technology to set a perimeter. If the child goes beyond that perimeter, the smartphone app will launch an alarm. The sensor retails at $39 and the app is free to download for iOS and Android. And that's what's trending today. Well, we'll end our show today with Bafou Sefou. That is a song by a blind couple from Mali, Amadou and Miriam. Bafou Sefou is a nickname given to idle and lazy people. From all of us here in Washington, have a good night and a great weekend.
Welcome to English in a Minute. Today's episode won't cost you anything.
Freebie.
Let's see what this one is about.
Anna, I love my job.
Oh yeah? Why is that?
I get so many freebies from the bands I write about. CDs, t-shirts, water bottles, even tickets to see them perform.
Wow. The only freebie I ever got from my